After local cities tried to pass their own rent control laws, the state of Florida is trying to ban local cities from passing their own local landlord tenant ordinances. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today, and it's a topic I have covered before, but I wanted to do a little bit of an update on it. And it's this proposal in the state of Florida that would ban local cities and counties and municipalities from passing their own landlord and tenant laws. And the reason that they're doing this is because, hey, I believe it was Orlando where they actually voted and passed a rent control ordinance. Now, rent control is bad and everybody knows it's bad except for these idealists who for some reason believe it's going to work out great. And so the state had to step in and say, hey, we cannot allow this sort of thing to pass because this will slowly erode away the rights of property owners within the state. Okay, and Florida is obviously a much less expensive place than places like California and New York. And the last thing you want to do is start bringing in the horrible policies that have caused those states to decline in population into the state of Florida. That's my opinion, okay? My opinion is that whatever they're doing up there, you need to be doing the opposite because what they're doing isn't working. Okay, high taxes, anti-business environment, taking away people's property rights. This is the stuff that chases people out of the state. And if they think that rent control is going to actually lower the cost of housing or make it more affordable, they're dead wrong. Okay, dead wrong. They've never read anything about economics and they're just pushing hopes and dreams. The only people rent control benefits are the people who already live in a place that's cheap. Okay, that's it. And one of the worst parts of rent control is the fact that, hey, it's not means tested, which means that you're trying to make housing affordable for people who need affordable housing, not for people who can afford much more. So what's the point of giving somebody who is, let's say you're a multi-millionaire. Well, what does a multi-millionaire need a rent controlled unit for? They don't. Okay. This should be focused on trying to help the people who need a helping hand pay their rent, not trying to give free benefits away to super rich people who don't deserve it. Anyway, I think it's an absolute ridiculous thing. I think that this proposal is a good idea, but I want to get into more details when I get into this article in just a minute. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. And if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that donation button. It's called the thanks button. It looks like a little heart with a dollar sign in it. If you are, if you like my videos, if you want to continue to see me bring great videos and great content with news related to landlords, I'm working my hardest to make sure that you guys have all of the news, all of the updates that I can find, okay? So let's get into the article. This article is coming from WCTV.tv, and it says, Leon County Commissioner opposes a Florida bill restricting local tenant ordinances. And there's a little video that goes along with it, and I'll play that for you right now.
Forcing all renters and landlords to go by current state law. Robert Churchill is a Tallahassee lawyer who works with renters. He says Leon County doesn't have major protections on the books, so this wouldn't really lead to major change for tenants here. Cities like Orlando and Tampa do have extensive protections that would be gutted, so obviously the impact will be felt there. Still, he says renters anywhere in the state need to do their research before renting.
It is fair to say you will not see many changes at all, but it's in order to have have a good and powerful relationship between you and your landlord where your rights are capable of being enforced, you have to do your homework and get good advice.
Leon County Commissioner David O'Keefe testified against the bill last month. He tells WCTV the bill would derail his plans to protect renters.
All right, you saw the video. Let's get into the article. A bill moving through the Florida House aims to strip away any local rules regulating tenant rights, making state law the only regulation landlords and tenants would have to follow. Supporters of HB 1417 argue it would mean every renter would have the same rules to follow, no matter where they live in the state. Opponents believe taking away those local rules could exploit renters and worsen the affordable housing crisis in an already expensive rental market. And you know what? It's not going to exploit renters because the laws on the book in the state are good laws, they're fair, and they think of not just the rights of the tenant, they also can take into consideration the rights of the landlord. Now, the big problem with a lot of municipalities is that they get very progressive in terms of property rights, and you'll see this in places like New York City. You'll see this in places like Los Angeles, California, where the local municipality, it's almost like they're trying to prove that they are the most progressive, even though the state laws in both of those states are very strong and very much in favor of tenants. They like, no, we want to go a step further. We want to pass stuff like experimental stuff that they have no clue whether it's going to work or not. So, for example, they're talking about in New York, oh, we want to ban landlords from being able to look at the tenant's criminal history. You know how horrible that could turn out. Now imagine if a law like that was to pass within a place like New York, right? Landlords, they would have their hands tied. They'd be putting horrible people into their units, and they'd have no way to even check and verify if a person is, a sex offender, just as an example. I mean, think about it. That is awful. But these are the type of local laws that would never pass statewide. Okay, but they're implementing them within a city. That's why, in my opinion, state law should trump the local nonsense. Okay. So yeah, I agree with this law. I think it's a better thing. And I think that level heads up in the state usually will make better decisions than these local politicians who aren't thinking things completely through. So yeah, Leon County Commissioner David O'Keefe counts himself among those opposing the measure, speaking at a committee hearing on the bill in late March. Locally elected officials, we're the ones most closely tied to citizens. You see us in the grocery store, he told WCTV over the phone Friday. He believes local leaders are the best equipped to handle the needs of their residents and thinks this bill is just one of several attacks on home rule moving through the legislature. And they're talking about attacks on home rule, right? But remember, the legislature actually is composed of people from each part of the state as well. Okay, so that means that representatives from your part of the state are given the opportunity to vote and make their arguments for or against every proposal. But like I said, it is beneficial to not have, what they think, like, oh well, we're an island, we're going to pass this rent control or these strong tenant protections. You're not an island. You're not an island, and things that affect you will affect everything around you. Okay, so when you say you're going to pass rent control, like, I laughed when the city of St. Paul, Minnesota, they passed rent control, but that is one city in a metropolitan area with dozens of cities, with dozens of counties. So if you pass rent control, where do you think the money is going to go? Do you think that everybody, oh, well, we give up. We're just going to, the investors, we're just going to comply. No, they're going to go to the county right next to you. They're going to go to the city right next to you. They're going to go outside of your little municipality city limits, and they're going to invest elsewhere. And how do I know this is going to happen? Because this is exactly what you see in cities all throughout the country, okay? When a city passes ordinances that are anti-business or anti-landlord, the investment money moves elsewhere close by so they can still benefit, but outside of the city. So yeah, this is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Or even in the worst case scenario, they'll move to a different state. They'll take that money completely out of the state of Florida, and they'll say, you know what? Texas doesn't have these ridiculous laws, so we're gonna go to Texas instead of Florida. And that's not what the legislature wants. The legislature wants a clear, defined set of rules that everybody abides by, and that makes it easy for businesses to be able to determine, whether they want to do business in the state or not. Okay, that's one of the biggest problems. When you have so many different layers of bureaucracy, the rules are different in county A versus county B. And then within the county, the rules are different between city A, city B, city C. I mean, you make it impossible for landlords to be able to do anything in that sort of situation. Oh man. I'm the kind of guy, like here in Nebraska, I own properties in both Douglas County, where Omaha is at, and Sarpy County, just south of Omaha. And it would be so much easier if you knew the landlord and tenant laws in the two separate counties where you're operating were the exact same. Oh, gee. I mean, it blows my mind. But you know what? This is coming from a politician who has never probably been a landlord, okay? And a politician who doesn't operate a business, doesn't understand the realities of business. They think optimistically in terms of, oh, well, everything will work out if we do it our way. Well, that's not the way it is, okay? And keep in mind that we are not like, just stuck operating under your terms. No, we're not. If you pass a law we don't want, we are not going to comply. And we're going to do that by going elsewhere where we don't have to deal with that law. He said Leon County has relatively few protections. The few that are on the books are already codified by federal and state law. The policies on the books here have not been terribly strong relative to the other ones you might see in Tampa or Orlando. Essentially, the policies on the books here are the ones designed to protect against discrimination, he said. Commissioner O'Keefe agreed there aren't as many protections on the book here compared to other parts of Florida, but said part of his mission when elected last year was to change that. At a recent commission meeting, Commissioner O'Keefe asked county staff to analyze a measure that would require 30 days advance notice to monthly renters if the rent were to increase by 5% or more. Those renting quarterly or longer would need 60 days advance notice for the same rent increase. He says, should this bill pass, that measure would be dead in its tracks. An amendment proposing the same requirement in the bill failed in committee last month. So yeah, they're proposing passing laws and they've got all these great proposals, but you know what? The truth of the matter is that there are already strong protections against discrimination. Everything else is just basically giving a handout to tenants, okay? And when you give a handout to tenants, it is always going to be at the expense of the landlord. It's never, oh, we're going to give the tenant this and it's going to come out of the pocket of the government. No, it's landlord should take money out of their pocket and give it to the tenant. That's what all these anti-landlord laws do, and that's why I'm so opposed to them. So hopefully this law passes in Florida. We'll see. Okay, and I'll give you an update in the future on this law again because this is pretty good, and I'm really interested in it.